Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show. On this episode of Red Carpet, we have a Nigerian filmmaker's documentary about an ethnic group in Nigeria. Cardi B offers to pay the funeral costs for fire victims, and singer Omah Lay talks to us backstage at his US tour. Let's go. And we start off with some sad news. Elza Soares, considered the queen of samba, died at age 91 last week. The Brazilian musician influenced generations of artists and also offered a powerful voice against racism and gender inequality. Edgar Maciel reports.
Elza Soares was a Brazilian icon, a musical artist who achieved worldwide fame as the Queen of Samba. When she died in Rio on January 20, at the age of 91, she left a legacy of unforgettable songs. Elza Gomes da Conceição Soares was born in June 1930 in a favela in Rio de Janeiro. She started her career at young age, playing guitar with her father. He forced her to marry when she was just 12 years old. She was 13 when she became a mother. Soares experienced more travels, widowed at 21 with 2 children reportedly dying of hunger. She was in her 30s when her powerful voice first reached a national audience through a successful audition with Tupi Radio that kickstarted her career in Brazilian samba. In 1962, Soares was chosen to represent Brazil during the World Cup in Chile. There, she met the Brazilian national soccer team's star player, Mané Garrincha, who then left his wife. Soares and Garrincha had a troubled partnership for 20 years. He reportedly was an unfaithful alcoholic who took out his aggressions on Soares. He died exactly 20 years to the day before her. Soares considered it vital to give voice to women and their struggles, as she did in Maria da Vila Matilde, a song on the 2015 album, A Mulher do Fim do Mundo. Soares' music frequently exalted blackness, referencing the African continent and the fight against racism in Brazil. In Carne Negra, or Black Meat, she denounced slavery and racism, singing that the cheapest meat in the market is the black flesh. Over the course of her career, Soares released 34 albums, mixing Afro-Brazilian drumming with jazz, electronic music, hip-hop, and funk. Her last, Planeta Fome, or Hunger Planet, was released in 2019. 2 decades earlier, BBC Radio had named her Voice of the Millennium in a London competition. Soares influenced generations of artists. On the day of her death, another member of music royalty, Queen Bee, or Beyoncé, wrote on her official website, "Rest in peace, Elza Soares. Your music has entertained and inspired so many from Brazil and around the world. We are grateful." Her wish was to sing until the end, and her work will live forever.
Hip-hop star Cardi B has offered to pay the burial costs of all 17 people killed in a fire that ripped through a New York City high-rise. The AP has more on this story. The Grammy-winning rapper offered financial relief for victims of the fire in the Bronx where she grew up. Many of the victims had ties to Gambia, and families of several of the victims plan to bury them in their West African homeland. Cardi B has committed to paying the repatriation expenses for the victims who will be buried in the Gambia. Cardi B said in a statement, quote, "I can't begin to imagine the pain and anguish that families of the victims are experiencing, but I hope that not having to worry about the costs associated with burying their loved ones will help as they move forward and heal. I send my prayers and condolences to everyone affected by this horrific tragedy." The fire, which was New York City's deadliest in 3 decades, was sparked by a faulty space heater, according to authorities. Filmmaker Retji Dakum is putting the spotlight on ethnic groups in Nigeria with a documentary titled Tribe. The film is about the culture of the Mapoon people in Plateau, Nigeria. Let's take a look.
Africa has 54 countries, more than 1.3 billion people, and more than 3,000 tribes.
In the documentary Tribe, Nigerian filmmaker Retji Dakum describes his journey to rediscover his ancestry. Dakum belongs to the Mapoon tribe based in central Nigeria's Plateau state. Nigeria has more than 300 tribes, but most people only know about the West African country's three main ethnic groups: Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. Red Carpet spoke with Dakum, who said he made this documentary to ensure that his people's story was told and not left out of recorded history.
My motivation behind making this documentary lies in the fact that culture is constantly changing, evolving, and growing. With globalization taking effect, the world getting smaller, cities and nations being built, certain cultures are left behind or left out of the conversation. In Nigeria, like we know, everyone knows Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, but people don't know that there's much more diversity that Nigeria has to offer, because Nigeria has been blessed with so many different cultures. So Mapoon is just one of them. In Nigeria, there are about approximately 370 tribes. In Plateau states, there are about approximately 60 tribes, and all these tribes have their own unique languages and traditions. So if different identities and communities and humans, families are not acknowledged, the risk of them going extinct is very much a reality. And so this documentary aims at shedding light on that. The fact that there are Mapoon people, and there are also Tiv, Birom, and Gas, Tarok, Mwagavu, and so much more that Nigeria has to offer. So that is one of the motivations for making this documentary.
Scientists generally have established that the origin of humankind is in Africa.
For a place this big and so diverse, its identity is constantly changing and to some extent fading away. So I'm going on a journey to learn about my tribe.
Africa's independent filmmakers have been making waves in film festivals and winning awards for their original content. With films from the continent available on major streaming platforms such as Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, Africa's cinema is flourishing in the digital age. The broader exposure for African filmmakers excites Dakum.
I think this is the perfect time to be an African storyteller. As you can see, African cinema is doing big things. It's being accepted in big platforms, in the streaming space, in the theatric space, in the festival space. African storytellers are finally able to use their voice on big platforms to tell our stories, because for a long time we've not been the one telling our stories, or we've not been heard. So this is a wonderful time to be an African storyteller, and I'm excited because so many young filmmakers are doing great things with their work. They're telling very important stories, stories that shape our understanding of what it means to be Nigerian, what it means to be African, Ghanaian, and so I'm just excited.
Molly Smith, who is the artistic director of the Arena Stage in Washington, D.C., has been highlighting American plays for over 20 years. Lilia Asminov has her story narrated by Anne Rice.
For director Molly Smith, working in the theater is in her blood, fulfilling a career that her grandmother never had.
My grandmother was a wonderful actor as a young person. And at that time, if you went into the theater, you were basically thought of as a prostitute or a lady of the night. She really wanted to be an actor. She wanted to be in New York. And yet she subjugated that in herself. And she married quite young. For me, I felt like I was finishing out a part of my grandmother's life because she was so passionate about the theater.
Because Molly's mother was also enchanted with theater, Smith was a passionate theater goer growing up.
I saw my first shows very, very young. I was probably 6 or 7 years old when I saw a production of Camelot with Robert Goulet in Yakima, Washington, and I can remember everything. I can remember the seat I sat in the balcony. I can remember the area of the balcony. I can remember leaning forward into the light that was emanating from the stage, and I was hooked.
After college, Smith moved to Alaska, and only a year later, in 1979, she founded the Perseverance Theater.
My former husband and I drug 50 used theater seats across the country, so obviously it was a big passion for me to start a theater, and I'd spent 7 years of my life figuring it out.
In 1998, Smith came to work at Washington's renowned Arena Stage as artistic director. Founded in 1950, the theater is visited by some 300,000 people a year. Smith does not stage European classics, but instead focuses on American plays and playwrights.
Everybody, there's a meeting here tonight. Are you ready? There's a meeting here tonight.
There's a huge range of diversity in the United States in terms of voices, in terms of types of people who are writing, in terms of race, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of sexuality.
But apart from changing the repertoire and focus of Arena Stage, Smith also tried to change attitudes toward women directors. While there has been some change, she believes more progress is needed.
When I first came here to Arena 24 years ago, of the large theaters in the United States, there were probably 4 or 5 of us in terms of being women. There are more now, but I face misogyny almost every day in one form or another, and I've been doing this a long time.
In the 2.5 decades of her work at the Arena Stage, Molly and her team staged over 100 performances, 9 of which made their way to New York. For Lilia Anisimova in Washington, Anna Rice, VOA News.
And let's close out the show with some music news. One of the many success stories emerging from Nigeria's music industry is singer Omah Lay. We spoke to the rising star during his sold-out US tour. Check it out. Nigerian artist Omah Lay is one of the fastest rising stars, reshaping the sound and texture of Afrobeats music. His hit song Godly, which was released in the early month of the pandemic, quickly became one of the soundtracks of young Nigerians in their generational struggle against poverty and poor leadership. As Omah Lay embarked on his first ever US tour, he shared his excitement with Red Carpet.
I mean, this is the first time I'm touring. This is the first time because my music broke out during the pandemic. And yeah, the pandemic hasn't been, there's actually nothing good that came from the pandemic. But still, I'm grateful to God that my music took off the way it did during the pandemic.
Signed to Warner Music, the young singer who started off as a producer has been described as the perfect fusion of Wizkid and Burna Boy, both in style and sound. This is a befitting tribute given that Omah Lay hails from Burna Boy's home city of Port Harcourt. As he prepared to perform at the first stop in his maiden US tour, I asked him what surprised him the most about his diaspora fan base.
Yo, man, to even think of the fact that I'm coming to the US for the first time and yo bought ticket for me. That's amazing, yo. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I feel blessed.
And with that, we come to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voanews.com. We are also on all social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where you can watch our videos. Remember to share, subscribe. Until next time, I'll catch you right here. Goodbye, everyone.